Okay, got the motor on the bench. Gonna look at the sprocket issues with the high-low gearing. To quickly sum up what I did, was riding the bike or pushing the bike, I can't remember what it was. The front sprocket got jammed. Originally I thought the chain had somehow gotten loose and jumped a sprocket or gotten caught in the case or something. But we're gonna take a look right now and see what happened. When it happened at the time, I just basically used as much force. I can't remember if I drove it forwards or backwards, but I got it unstuck and then it developed an oil leak. So let's take a look now and see what I did. If I can sort of explain it, I'll take off this bearing. There's two sides to it. There's the direct shaft, so the drive shaft from the transmission gearing, I guess if you want to call it, right? And then the low to high selector gearing. This guy comes out, and if you look sort of close, you can see it's missing two teeth. So I think I know why what happened. That's what locked it up that day, is probably one of those cracked off, or it was in between the selector. Sort of the way this works is the main transmission output shaft is here. There's two cogs on it. And right now these two cogs are interleaved together in this setting. So this outer cog actually drives the inner cog, and the inner cog is what's directly attached to the sprocket in behind. So right now in the high selection switch, if I put this back, so in the high torque setting, this isn't being, it's running passively. It turns, but it's running passively. It doesn't actually drive anything. Now if I were to pull that switch out there, you could see that this outer cog now meets this, so the power now gets transferred. So now when I turn it, you can actually see, if I zoom in a little bit, that as I turn these, because not only was this missing teeth, but also this guy in here, you can see right there, there's a tooth missing. And actually when I opened the case, I had three missing teeth just dropped right out. So in low setting, these teeth are broken that match these teeth. So when it hits that sweet spot where there's no teeth on no teeth, and there's no contact on the inside. So basically, if I want my low setting to work, I need to replace this piece and that one in there. I can find that sprocket, reassemble it all, have my low and high gear, or I can pretend that low gear doesn't exist, always keep it in the high setting, and for all intents and purposes, I can actually completely remove this. Then, with my bearing on, right, and without this, I can reassemble my entire unit, and then if it by some error gets selected to go into low gearing, all it does is release the gear. It's basically a second neutral. So it wasn't the chain doubling over and me forcing it through, it was teeth breaking and it just getting jammed up within itself. Second part of that is what I did to fix it, which was basically roll the gear, force the sprocket to turn in neutral, dropped it into gear, and forced it to work again. And I mentioned that it developed a small oil drip right onto the chain when that happened. I guess where these were together, what happened was they had to move to let everything loosen up. I don't know if you can see right here, there's a crack that comes down and through there, right on that housing. And that happens to come out right there. And the chain would have come right here. And I think it was just squirting a little bit out, falling onto the chain as the chain drove. So now I know what happened to make it stick and what I did to unstick it in my oh-so genius way. Fortunately, this is a replaceable part. It has nothing to do with the main case. And I have another one. So I got that cover plate back on. That's all good. So I feel comfortable that that problem is fixed. What I want to do now is go through just getting the basic tune-up stuff back in place. So I've been doing some work on it already, doing the points, condenser, looking at valves, looking at cam chain tension, and just all the stuff that require adjustment that I don't think have ever been dealt with before. So let's get set up and let's have a look. Let me sort of explain what I've got going on here. What I did is I pulled out the actual wiring harness that came right out of the bike. It's a very, very simple wiring harness. So you can see this is the lead off the points here, right? It plugs into the green wire. This is the harness for the stator and everything else. All this front stuff that you can see right here is all the stuff that goes up and all the connections that are inside, normally the headlight bulb, which I'll probably put under the tank in this case. The only thing I really had to address here was figure out what two wires, and it was these two, run to the kill switch. And these two leads have to be on or engaged to the kill switch to be in run mode. So I made up this short little lead here. This puts the kill switch in the on position. If I pulled one of these out, it's in the off position. All this other stuff, this is just, you know, like lights and turn signals, and you know, the neutral lights in here somewhere, and the oil light, and everything else, and running lights. So that's the front harness. So the rest of that I can put aside for now. The back half of the harness basically goes to sort of the body where the battery goes. So what we have here is I've plugged in the rectifier or regulator. I think it's the rectifier. So I sort of got that guy plugged in easily, and then I found my two leads, which go to my coil, right? So my green and my black with my white stripe right off the main harness. So those two guys are sort of there. I have a ground here. I've just grounded it onto the motor itself, and then I stick my rectifier, sort of my knob, just in case this calls for a ground as well. I kind of just shove it in the handle there. The rest of these here go to the rear harness. So it's running light, tail light, turn signals, and this looks like maybe some sort of relay, maybe a turn signal flasher. Original battery, totally dead, a 6-volt battery charger. It's a 1 amp, 6-volt battery charger here. I've got the hot going to a lead on the battery, and then as well to the main harness, and then all the grounds I've just got plugged together. And basically what I'm trying to create is the system with the battery installed, because it needs the battery for spark. As far as I know, I haven't tried anything to the contrary, but I don't think it needs power. I don't think it needs a charged battery. I think once the stator gets going, I think it can make enough of its own charge to run the bike and the running lights or whatever. Not well, but I think it can do it. The last thing I have is a test lead. Oh, and the most important thing is I had to rewire the magical on-off switch. So there's my there's the two leads that were cut into, and this is as it was for 40 years. This beautiful, beautiful setup. There might have been a little bit of tape around here, but there it is. Key off, key on. Thing of beauty. First thing I did was, obviously, I thought it would be easier to do this with power on an actual 6-volt source. So if I plug in the battery charger right I should, oh, there it is. Let me take the light away a bit. So I have, if I can get a better ground, I have battery off, battery on. So that lets me know that I've got power in the system. My original capacitor had one of the clips inside of the housing had cracked in two. So this could very well be okay, but I had a new one that I had ordered, so I just replaced it just so that I had a more solid connection with that. And as well, I also replaced the points. You can see the little nub here that rides against the cam is so worn down. If you look at the new one, that it has a much larger tab than its predecessor. Because I was noticing this one was hardly moving. It was really hard to tell, to really get a reading between gap and no gap. So I threw the new one on. I'm just going to try and turn it over by hand and see what happens. So this is 6 volt, battery on, carbs off, not in the way. I got my spark plug here with my lead. Let's turn off the light and see if we can get some spark on this. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if you're catching that, but I have spark. So that's great. Second part of this is, so you can see by the light on there that I'm still running off the charger. So I'm going to unplug that now. I've got no charge coming from anything, so I have a completely dead battery. So if I had a dead battery and the bike was sitting out and I wanted to kick it, now I'm just curious if I can actually get spark. So here we go. And I do. Oh, and you know what else I'm getting? You see that? I'm actually getting a charge, which is great. Only thing else I'm going to do is just open up the car, make sure there's no big blockages in there, give those jets a clean, and that's as much as I'm going to do. I'm not going to try and get it going on the bench. I'm confident now with the spark and everything else. I think it's going to run. I think it's going to be good. Okay, so I got the carb apart, and it's actually great. It's like in spite of how dirty it looks on the outside, it's actually really, really clean. The floats look untouched, and even that center jet. I will take those out, give them a soak, and give everything a bit of a soak. The only thing I caught, so this end of this is the bottom half. This is the petcock side, and this is the filter side, and there's a lot of gobbledygook in there. So I think that's where the most of whatever, it looks like rust or something, got in. I believe this filter should just pop out. Yes, it does. Oh, okay, that is not pretty. So definitely we're going to have to check out the jets and everything to make sure. The actual bottom of the carb is not like, it's a little bit like it's just, there's some whatever, like the mildest little bit of residue on it, but it's really, really clean. I have a suspicion that it was me that drove it last, and I have a feeling that I stopped driving it is because I ran out of gas, and that just kind of finished the whole thing. So yeah, I'll soak all that, get that back together, and that pretty much that does it for me troubleshooting to see if the engine will work. I feel pretty confident that it will. So guys, I'm going to leave it there for now. If you want to tag along with this, hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Next time what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mock up what I want to do on the body. And hopefully it looks as cool as I think it. Hopefully it does in my mind.